Do you ever get the feeling you are a human sponge? You enter a space and abruptly you are overcome by anxiety or anger that is not even yours. We term these folks empaths, and for a long time we've been led to believe it's a sort of spiritual endowment. Well, here is a harsh fact. Based on the celebrated psychologist Carl Jung, it is not an endowment. It is a psychological snare. Currently, in this time of perpetual online fury and immense group anxiety, empaths are being overwhelmed. But imagine if that perceptiveness, the exact quality that is ruining your existence, is really a hidden superpower. What if you are not intended to soak up the world's suffering, but to bounce it back? Stay tuned, because what Carl Jung uncovered regarding this tendency shifts everything. Let's label this initial phase the empath's curse. You are familiar with the routine. You go into a workplace and the atmosphere is so heavy you could slice it with a blade. By the moment you depart, your shoulders are stiff and you have a pounding head, even when the dispute had zero connection to you. Or perhaps your pal is unloading about their tough day, and for the subsequent 3 hours, you are the person who feels mysteriously down and depleted long after they have proceeded on. This is not a present. It is what Carl Jung's research identifies as excessive psychological permeability. Your emotional borders are like a mesh door in a tempest. This is not sorcery. Science has terms for it, such as emotional contagion or mirror neurons operating excessively. You genuinely, on a neurological plane, cannot differentiate between their sentiments and your own. And this precisely is the reason you are so fatigued constantly. But here is the catch. That curse, it serves a function, and it is indicating something massive. So what is it you are taking in? Carl Jung had a term for it, the shadow. The shadow is essentially a psychic disposal sack for everything we and our whole culture decline to possess. It is all the fury, the disgrace, the avarice, and the terror we claim we do not harbor. Carl Jung found that human beings have a bad tendency. Rather than managing our own shadow, we utilize a defense mechanism labeled projection. We genuinely hurl our obscurity onto other individuals. Consider that colleague at the office who is perpetually distrustful, blaming everyone else for attempting to sabotage them. Odds are they are projecting their own treacherous ideas. And who is the ideal receptacle for all this projected muck? The empath. Your permeable borders make you the ideal empty display for everybody else's terror film. This is the reason shadow work seems undoable for you. You are attempting to tidy your own home, but you are also receiving all your neighbor's garbage dropped off at your front door. But what if you are not meant to tidy it? What if you are just meant to reveal to them what they discarded? This leads us to the hunter that is attracted to this interaction like a shark to blood, the narcissist. This is not a fluke. It is a design characteristic. An individual with a profound, engulfing narcissistic injury requires an empath to subsist. For what reason? Because they are horrified by their own shadow. They have fabricated a complete artificial self, an imposing mask to cover the unendurable shame they feel internally. And they require you to be the disposal site for that humiliation. It is a frighteningly flawless, poisonous lock-and-key mechanism. They hurl all their fury and vulnerability onto you. Then, when you respond, they strike you with the typical phrases. You are just overly sensitive. You are deluded. That never occurred. This is not merely manipulation. It is emotional vampirism. They are genuinely fueling themselves with your energy to prevent their own synthetic self from disintegrating. They require your brightness to hurl their shadow into. And the empath frequently remains, believing, I can mend them. But here is the reality you must hear. You cannot restore someone who is purposefully wielding your empathy as a weapon. The sole path out of this snare is to permit it to shatter you. That is not a misprint. The instant the facade falls, the instant the treachery is so total it fractures your whole existence, that is the start of your true power. Carl Jung named this procedure individuation. It is essentially psychological alchemy. The old alchemists desired to change valueless lead into pure gold. For the empath, your agony is the lead, and the gold, that is your sovereign, genuine self. This is the scene in the movie where the hero, after being knocked down, finally commences the training montage. But instead of hoisting weights, you're picking through a heap of emotional refuse. You learn to pose the most critical query. Is this emotion mine, or did I simply acquire it? Initially, it is agonizing. But as you divide your genuine emotions from the garbage you have soaked up, you begin to construct something novel. You fashion real borders, not furious ramparts, but potent, pliable containers. You understand Carl Jung was correct. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. All that anguish was not pointless. It was a pressure device engineered to compel your metamorphosis. You at last understand you are never intended to restore others by accepting their shadows. You were intended to demonstrate to them what it appears like to restore yourself. So, who are you following this metamorphosis? You are unrecognizable. The casualty is gone. In its position stands the sovereign empath. Here is what has changed. Your perceptiveness is still present. In reality, it is more potent. But it is not a sponge any longer. It is a high-accuracy diagnostic instrument. You can enter that same disorderly office and note the tension, comprehend its origin, and not soak up a single particle of it. Your empathy also transforms. It is no longer a frantic, codependent urge to mend people. It is what we term boundaried love. You can maintain space for a companion's hurt without plunging into the hole with them. And this is what makes the enlightened empath so perilous to unaware individuals. You have become a live reflector of truth. When somebody attempts to discard their shadow on you, it just fails to adhere. It rebounds right back. When a narcissist attempts to gaslight you, you do not soak up the humiliation. You merely mirror their manipulation back at them, frequently just by asserting the facts serenely. And they are unable to tolerate it. It is like a vampire at last viewing its own image. They escape, because your integrated self reveals their synthetic one. Here is the last amazing part of this puzzle. When you perform this work, you are not just restoring yourself. You are generating a ripple effect in the collective unconscious. Carl Jung believed we are all linked in this profound psychic domain. When one individual attains this sovereign mirror status, they revise the blueprint for everybody. It is a potent idea. As more empaths cease being casualties and begin being mirrors, the ancient, poisonous archetype of the suffering servant starts to expire. You are actually assisting in the evolution of human consciousness. The individual you were at the start of this video would be horrified by the individual you are becoming. The one who is no longer submerged, but standing. The one who is no longer soaking up, but mirroring. So here is the decision. You have seen the map. Will you continue being a sponge, pulverized by the burden of a world that is not yours? Or will you perform the work, face the alchemical fire, and become the mirror this world so urgently requires to see itself? The era of the unaware empath is finished. The era of the sovereign mirror has commenced.